I'm sorry I can't talk and enter into a dialogue with you because my voice is not going to be part of it. It won't be like a dialogue at all. But I did want to offer some comments and get your response on what you say. I think there's nothing that you have said, or that nothing's out there that you haven't heard of or read about. So I'm not trying to suggest that anything I say would add to something you haven't already heard already. But one of the theodicies for natural evil that you got to, that you suggested in your lectures, was, I label it the heroic theodicy, where if it didn't hurt to get caught by a black bear and really hurt as much and rip you up to shreds as much, it wouldn't be quite as challenging to you, and you wouldn't be the hero. Whatever it is the challenge does for us, these second order virtues. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is that I personally don't think you can solve it without an afterlife. As a believing Christian, in other words, the badness of something that seems totally like a baby dying, like my best friend's son that dies at age 4 for just no reason, epiglottitis. What could that possibly? You don't need that to happen, So, but you can only rationalize it not by saying it was justified within a self-contained system, but that there is something that makes the space and time we're in now less important later on. Okay. And the third thing is we always have to remember that we're only talking about this because we believe in one God with all these attributes. Okay. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it at all.
That's right.
Okay. And so
we could certainly opt out of the whole thing.
We could certainly opt out. So if freedom was truly important for any kind of virtue or moral life, then maybe the only way God could have faked us out so that we're totally free and not uncertain and Scottish verdict. That's the one thing I'm going to put in my head every time I think of you, which I'm a believer in, is so that we can't ever be certain that he's there. And you have to throw a curveball in there that makes no sense and could not be justified without an afterlife. So you almost have to be a Christian theologian to find the theodicy. It's not going to be a logical, philosophical thing.
Before we go to another question, let me go back to what I was talking about just a moment ago and add one thing that you and I have discussed before and that I intended to include on the whole business of challenge and second-order virtues and developing it makes us better and all of that. That would make a lot better sense in a religion that believed in reincarnation, because then we could come back around for the next round better prepared. Or we could come back for the next round in for worse treatment because we hadn't learned what we needed to. So there is a very definite potential in my mind for the possibility of a working natural evil theodicy safe in the Hindu religion. Much more comfortably than your run-of-the-mill U.S. Christian. Now, maybe, and Kant would have bought into this, I think, maybe heaven and hell, maybe, could play the same kind of role for a traditional Western Christian that the possibility of reincarnation could play for Hindu. That at least at best, someone who died horribly and innocently would get a chance for a payback or reward, a renewal, or that somebody who literally got away with murder for their entire lifetime would get it in spades under a final judgment. Kant said somewhere in his writings about religion that the reality of the world to come was the only way in which to make the world as it is make any sense at all. That if there is not a world to come of rewards and punishment, then this is rollicking absurdity. So I think that dimension of it I should have brought up before, and I lost track of my count in my head and left those out.
Well, I'd prefer to God just leave it to the reward and not the punishment.
Well,
okay, let's just go with reward. All right.
Yeah.
Now, how much time we've got? About
there are a lot of Christians, by the way, who are right with you on that.
Really?
Oh, yes. Seventh-day Adventists, for instance. Seventh-day Adventists believe that if you live a bad life and die, you're dead.
Yeah.
You're gone.
And that's my vote. The problem with that is God is unjust at the end of the day. And so God always traps us in something. You know, that's the problem with it.